This is Blu Laker. This is Radio Tribune here. We're located at 717 South 9th Street in Las Vegas, Nevada. The name of my show is Cobra USA. We're going to be talking about that, which is insurance. And we're going to be talking about Medicaid, Medicare. We're going to be talking about Cobra. And we're going to be talking about workman's compensation. Oh, and a few other things, yes. But we have a healthcare debate that begins 8/3/2017. And it's going to be down the street here in back of the federal courthouse at 333 South 6th Street in Las Vegas, Nevada. And it's on the second floor. The door, we will have security down there so you'll be able to get in access. If not, all you have to do is flip the lock on the door and it'll let you in. And then you come up to the second floor, you'll find us there. We have invited the governor, the lieutenant governor, several mayors, and other dignitaries to attend because this is so critical to the United States. And I'm talking about health care. Health care is a debacle right now. It's terrible. There are so many people that are abusing the system, it's unreal. Just recently here in Nevada, there was 204,000 people who signed on to Medicaid. Now, why would they do that? And why was the call so great? Here's a simple reason. It's paid for. That's right. It's paid for by the government, the state government and the federal government. State pays about 34%, somewhere there, and the federal government pays the rest. However, let's face it, when those government entities pay, it's because you paid your taxes and you're using your money to supply Medicaid to thousands and thousands of people. And today, I have a guest. His name is Remington Longfield, I believe.
Longley.
Laundry?
Longley.
Longley. Okay. Well, I guess that's a little different than laundry. Anyway, he's a young man. He's of age, I think, 16. Isn't that of age? Well, bottom line is that Remington is here because he has an interest in broadcasting and an interest in politics. Wow, the second one I'm not so sure about, but I have run.
We'll see.
I have run both for Congress and for the Nevada Senate, and in both cases I failed. Well, that's not anything to be disappointed about because you see Lincoln tried over 50 times before he finally got elected. So it was a persistence that paid off. And especially if you have a message that is going to meet the public's opinion. So, Remington, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself so that we have a little bit of background and then I can pick it apart.
Oh, well, I'm very, very looking forward to that. Everybody, my name is Remington Longley. I am currently serving as the Director of Membership for the Nevada Libertarian Party. I'm also involved in the Young Americans for Liberty organization. I'm serving as a media ambassador for them, and I'm also chapter president at the local community college for the YAL Association. Moreover, I've worked on several campaigns in the past. I have worked for the Joe Heck for Congress campaign, and I worked briefly on his Senate campaign as well. I have worked for Jonathan Frederick and Kimberly Shang as well. So, very excited to be here, and thanks. Let's get it going.
Yeah, well, again, we have a lot to talk about today, and when I say that we're going to do it for a short period of time, and generally speaking, I only do a half-hour show.
Okay.
We can do more, but half an hour usually gets the job done. Bottom line is that Medicaid being paid entirely by other people, those other people, you can say it's the government, I can say it's the people that are paying taxes.
Okay. Sure.
And what we need to do is we need to get a clarification on the system itself. Because you see, one of the very first issues in Medicaid is that you must be a U.S. citizen in order to participate. Well, that's the very first sentence. Now, what do you think about that, Remington?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say this much. I think that the system of Medicare and healthcare is actually really not bad. complicated. I think it's more simplistic. The government is basically incenting higher taxes on other people to pay for large government programs. I think another branch that they've done is also Social Security as well. Essentially what it is it's the government taking money from people, mostly entrepreneurs and small businessmen, as well as the middle class, and they are basically paying for a universal healthcare system that does not work.
Well, as I mentioned to you, the opening statement was you must be a U.S. citizen in order to participate. However, that falls apart as you get down into the meat of the matter.
Of course.
That is to say, there are exceptions, of course. Some of those exceptions are if you're illegal and you need medical assistance, you can use Medicaid. Now, what that means is that people have recognized that they can get a free lunch, if you were, or free medical service by simply joining up with Medicare or Medicaid, or excuse me, Medicaid. Now, you can say, well, okay, didn't you say they have to be U.S. citizens? Yes. But let me ask you this. With 204,000 new entries in Nevada in the last 6 months, now I may be off a little bit on the time frame there, but that's what was signed up here in Nevada.
Okay.
Now, what you probably don't know is that the cost to administer Medicaid is $780 billion.
I did know that, actually. It's included in our budget.
$780 billion a year. So when you look at the average situation and you say, all right, so what they're doing is they're picking up the insurance cost for those people on Medicaid. So look at it on an individual basis, or if you would, on a family basis, and say, what would the premium be under Obamacare? And, you know, Obamacare also has subsidies. And I know of one particular couple who signed up for Obamacare to find out that their premium was a man and wife to begin with. And the man said, hey, I can't do this. And so let his wife go on it. And her premium was $600 a month.
Okay.
And she had a pre-existing condition, but her premium was $600 a month, much more than they could afford. And that usually is the case with Obamacare, is that it's so far out of line that people can't pay it. But because she got a subsidy, now this is a woman that has a nice home, nice car, but she can't afford the insurance.
Okay.
So her cost turns out to be about $145 a month instead of the $600, subsidized through Obamacare. So, here again, we see the leaks in the program. Here again, is she really qualified for that? Well, I mean, if we want to be sympathetic to each and every individual, yeah, then everybody qualifies. So what's your feeling on that?
Well, first of all, I'd like to, just lead with this. Somebody who is not an American citizen does not deserve American rights or American benefits. I'd really like to get into
They're not allowed to participate. You know, it's kind of like other things in life where certain people are allowed into certain clubs because they qualify. Usually it has to do with money. You know, membership is $2,000, $2,500 a year, so they don't qualify. They can't justify to get into it. Other times it's other reasons. Sometimes it's political, so on and so forth. But the point is that people have to qualify to get a driver's license, and for them to use the license, the driver's license, as proof of citizenship is totally ridiculous.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you the reason why. You see, you can go downtown Los Angeles and get whatever you want. You want a birth certificate from Guatemala? You want a birth certificate from Hawaii? You want a birth certificate from Pennsylvania? They'll give you one. And it'll look just as good as the original. Will it pass the muster of an expert? No, probably not. You know why? Because the experts don't get to take a look at it. You see, it's individuals at the DMV or other areas where they have so many people standing in line, it's almost impossible for them to vet them. Example, I was just telling you about the 204,000 people who were added to Medicaid. Do you think that they could possibly vet that many people in a 2 or 3 month period of time?
Well, certainly not, but I really think that that's what leads into the next debate, which is how do you vet? And I really think the way you should do that is with a free market and with competition. A free market and competition will guarantee higher customers, better customer service, lower premiums, and it will also guarantee that everybody can be covered.
Well, I'm glad you said that because you see, that's where I'm going in the final analysis. But at this point, I'm still discussing the problems that are associated with Medicaid.
And so what is your question?
I'm saying that because of the fraud and corruption that's in place, let's say that your cousin Seymour is one of those DMV inspectors.
Okay.
And he said, well, Remington's a nice kid. Pass. Who's going to challenge it? You see, if you don't vet them first in the first place, if you don't know that their documentation is legal, that is to say, a birth certificate. Let's say that you come in with a birth certificate, it looks perfectly legal. I mean, hell, it says Guatemala right on the front and a stamp, and it certainly looks official. And these people are not versed in every particular country's way of doing business or their attributes. And somebody could come in there with something that looks like a birth certificate, and they say, okay. And the next thing they know is they get a driver's license, and the next thing, that driver's license is used now for identification. You probably didn't know that there's over 2 million plus illegal aliens in California. Are you aware of that?
I was.
In addition to that, 1.4 million illegals have obtained Social Security, fraudulently obtained Social Security cards. That entitles them to the privileges and so forth that they're getting from the federal government. The bottom line is that we're taking so much out of the bowl, there's hardly any beads left at the bottom. So what are we going to do about it?
What we're going to do about it is actually a very simple answer. What you do is you downsize the role of the federal government and you insist on free market. That's what you do.
You're going to downsize?
There's a big incentive that we need to change the system. We need to reform the system. We need to add more rules and more regulations. No, you don't. Get the government out of healthcare. Get the government out of Medicaid. Get the government out of Social Security. The free market and the entrepreneurs of our society, which are American citizens, can make up for the fallacies of the government.
Well, I agree with you that that's exactly what has to take place.
Do you think we need to abolish Social Security?
There's too much waste in the federal government. How many employees do you think there are in the federal government?
I couldn't even take a guess, because the problem with that is that how many of them are federal but would not be considered federal?
Well, there's 22 million employees in the federal government.
Okay.
So with 22 million employees in the federal government, you can see where a lot of the money is going. And you see most of those jobs are high-paying jobs, probably because of the unions. I'm not quite sure why it is. But they're certainly not in the poverty level. They're at least,
They're doing good for themselves.
Yeah. So the point is that when you start to add up all the expenses of the federal government, and then you have people taking advantage of those by defrauding the federal government, and then the federal government doing nothing about it, you can say, well, they're deporting them. Yeah, the second they get back there, they turn around and come back. Well, those things have got to stop just as well. But the most important thing is that we need to reduce or eliminate, and I say either or, we need to get rid of the expense of Medicaid and still offer a program that will meet the needs of most people.
I would have to disagree.
Well, first of all, we know that there's more than 20 million illegals here in the United States.
Okay.
And that's from all over the place. It's not just from Mexico. Yes, the most of it is coming. I think it's 59% of the people that are illegal are from Mexico. And then the rest of it's split up, different other countries. And of course, people will say, well, what are you going to do? Can't deport them all. Well, why not? There's been, I'm not sure, there was 2 or 3 presidents before this time that did just exactly that. They deported.
You talking about Ronald Reagan? Ronald Reagan?
I believe Ronald Reagan was one. There was another one too.
Ronald Reagan granted amnesty.
Oh, well, again, there's been a couple of presidents who basically have deported people for the simple reason that there was an absolute need to, and I can't tell you what that is. I'm not a walking encyclopedia for the most part. But if we have that many people relying on the system, and let's say 40% of the population is contributing to the overall success of the system, and I'm sure that those numbers are fairly close, then we have a disproportionate system that
More people receiving than there are paying.
that glorifies people who don't want to go to work because it doesn't pay for them to go to work. When you have someone that's receiving a subsidy, and that subsidy can be, in certain states, up to $15 an hour for not going to work.
Okay.
That, plus the fact that they don't have to pay taxes on it. So why should they go to work at a job for $8 an hour and then pay taxes on it? Well, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Well, it doesn't make a lot of sense to them, but it makes a lot of sense for us to make sure that they get employed and then to participate if they want to share in the benefits that this country offers. And that's what we're saying. Both of us actually saying the same thing, that in order to participate, you have to participate. You have to contribute to the welfare of the state and the country and the future of America. That really sums up the problem. And now we can talk about the solution. Well, there's a couple of different programs that work. For example, Cobra USA, is a good program because it guarantees that you can have insurance. The insurance that you're carrying right now, if you like that program, you can continue it with Cobra, but you have to pay. And it's fairly costly because when you take the employer out, you have to pay that. That's 50% more than a normal fee. So now, if the monthly payment is $600 a month, you're paying the $600 a month plus 2% for the administration of the Cobra program. Well, you can say, well, that don't make a lot of sense. Well, it does if you've lost your job. If you've lost your job and you want to continue with insurance and you feel the need to keep that up, then you have to do something to cover it. But what if instead of having to pay that, there was a subsidy that was associated with your previous insurance? And as I mentioned before, that's the case with Medicaid and Medicare. There are subsidies that are available through both of those programs. So if there was a continuation, that is to say, we're not going to have Medicare anymore, but you can have Cobra. Oh, well, wait a minute, I'm going to have to pay twice as much money. Well, yes, you have to pay twice as much money because your employer is off the hook. You're not working there anymore. So which was voluntarily or involuntarily makes no difference. You're not working there, and he's not obligated to pay that anymore. So if you want insurance, you have to pay the premium to stay in the program, of course. But what if, like in Medicaid, for example, you had subsidies, and those subsidies continue as long as you're in Cobra. But Cobra is a limited program. That is to say, it's good for 18 months to 36 months, and there's certain qualifications for the extension. I'm not going to try to get into that today. The truth is that you can still have insurance under Cobra, and you can take the subsidies that you have with you. That means you get your doctor, if that's what your program allows. If you have insurance and you like the doctor and you want that doctor, you can have that doctor. So it's really kind of the same thing, except you're paying the thing. Oh, wait a minute. You're telling me I got to pay for it? Well, it's your body. What do you think should pay for it? Federal government? No, I don't think so, because the federal government is not the people in Washington, D.C., the 535 representatives there. It's 330 million people in the United States who are contributing to the welfare of other people, in some cases totally unjust. So here's the question that I'm kind of playing around with you here. How would you, taking into consideration that the poverty level is $12,000, maybe a little bit less?
Poverty level is not $12,000. Poverty level is under $22,000 a year.
Not to my.
For a family, the poverty level is.
Oh, no, I say family. That's an individual.
Oh, the individual is under $15,000.
12,000.
It's 12.
Yep. I think it's 11 exchange.
Forbes.
Now there may be. I remember seeing something about $15,000, but I really don't know what it is. It really is not. It's really not important at this moment. But for example, if let's call it 15,000 for your sake, and say that so that the poverty level is $15,000, and you're making $12,000 a year, then you qualify for some of these programs because of the poverty level. But what if you don't qualify for the poverty level? Let's say that you made $25,000 a year. Now, two things are happening. A, you're not entitled to the subsidies anymore.
Okay.
That's the first thing. Second thing is that because you make more money, you're paying a little bit more taxes. Now, I don't know, I haven't done this study yet, but I will by tomorrow, to find out what the difference is if you're going from $15,000 to $25,000 a year, what the difference is in the bracket. Have you moved up from the 15% bracket to a 25% bracket, so on and so forth? Because that is important information when you're doing mathematics, is to be able to say, well, if I make this, I'm going to have to pay more, and so therefore, I still have more disposable income, but I am paying a little bit more in taxes. Well, that's the way the system works. In other words, the more you make, the more you have to pay. Now, there is a certain level, and it's fluctuated so much, I'm not even sure where it is anymore. 35, I used to hear that 35% was the cap, now I heard, well, no, it's going to be 40%. I'm not real sure. Bottom line is this, you have to have that information if you're going to come to some conclusive answers. And what if the people who are making $25,000 are paying for their own insurance? Keep in mind that those people who are working for a large corporation with more than 20 employees, they're getting half their money from their employer, so it's going to make a difference in their total payment. So we're assuming that that law is going to continue, that those people who are employed and the employers contribute. So therefore, when you look at progress, say, well, if I leave this job, my benefits are going to continue. Now, that basically means they will continue. And if you're being subsidized for half that money, you're still going to get it with COBRA, but you're only going to get it for 18 to 36 months. Now, as you begin to unravel these things, and you see that maybe they left for a better job. Now they're going from $15,000 to $25,000. And reasonably so, because people would like to make more money and would be more comfortable in the middle class, those kinds of things. So, what we're looking for in the American system, this parity, equal to. For example, the law has to be equal. It can't be, well, you're from out of the country, so therefore you're getting a break. Instead of $500, and by the way, if you have a moving violation here in Nevada, it's $300 plus administrative fees. And those administrative fees can vary according to what particular school. In most cases, it's going to be about $500. Now, that was a fee that the Nevada legislature put into place. But can you imagine how many people that affects and how the impact is on poor people? People who can barely get by they don't have enough money for food or medicine or any of those things. Can you see what kind of impact and what position that puts them in, where they have to have something to eat and they don't have any other sources to get it? Now, fortunately, we have a lot of sources here in Nevada, Salvation Army and so forth. Well, I can't go down to the Salvation Army. Well, that's too bad. Go hungry, I guess, but that's your choice. But if you want to stay healthy, then you need to figure out where you can go in the event that something happens to you. So I guess the question is, I've been alluding this, okay? So I'm going to tell you what it is. We've only got 3 minutes left. Okay, we're going to raise the minimum wage.
Not big on that, but okay, continue.
What?
I'm not big on that. I don't believe in it.
Why would you be big on it if you didn't look at it? If you don't look at it, you see, here's the problem. You can see the trees, but sometimes you can't see the forest, and you don't understand what's in the forest.
There is nothing in the forest, sir.
No.
There is absolutely nothing in the forest. Raising the minimum wage would be a terrible thing for our economy. It's already been proving in Seattle. If you take a look at Seattle, menu prices in Seattle have actually jumped by almost 200%. Prices are doubling.
Oh, I didn't say that was the only thing.
Well, I think there's a way to do it.
Again, see, you're not looking at the whole picture because you don't know the whole picture. I haven't explained the whole picture. All right, so if you don't know the whole picture, you're being presumptuous. And I have friends who have said the same thing, and then after I've explained how it works.
Okay, I'm eager to hear it.
Okay. Bottom line is this. When you take somebody, first of all, there hasn't been an increase in the minimum wage in, 15, 20 years, something like that. I know what it is. It's a long time. We're at $8.25 an hour.
There was just a minimum wage increase in some states across the country to 15, to 12.
I agree.
Oh, there's already been minimum wage increases across the country.
When?
Specifically Seattle, Los Angeles, New
What are
York.
you saying, Seattle? What about the country? I'm not talking about Seattle. I'm talking about the country.
Right, certain states have.
Hmm?
Certain states have.
36 what?
Certain states have raised the minimum wage, and it has not been productive at all.
$36? My hearing's not that good.
I'm sorry. Certain states, Washington, New York, California.
13 states. What's the minimum wage?
Let's wrap it up, Lou. It's time. It's
Sorry
time.
about that. Till next time, though. Very interesting being on the show and all.
Okay. All right. This is Blu Laker at Radio Tribune here in Las Vegas. We're at 717 South 9th Street, and we're going to close for the day. Hope you have listened intently, because you can call in if you don't like what we're saying. It's at 983-0711. 983-0711. Have a great day.